Do you want to remove the frozen windshield wiper blades, the windshield, perhaps the steering column switches, the emergency brake, or perhaps even the entire windshield wiper motor system from your MGB? Stick around and find out a step-by-step detailed process on how to remove all of these components from your MGB. Welcome to another episode of Maggie's Makeover. It's the automotive journey about the restoration of my 1972 MGB called Maggie. Now, I purchased Maggie in 1977. I drove her through college, and then I took her off the road for over 40 years, taking her out of storage 2 years ago and starting this restoration. Now, some of you out there might say this is really a story about a foolish guy like me who could spend over $40,000 on a car that, when all is said and done, is only going to be worth $15,000 or $20,000. But hey, who said this journey was free? Now, before we begin this episode, I just want to say thank you for all of you viewers out there who take the time to leave such kind comments. You know, doing a restoration like this has its ups and downs, and it's comments from you all that keep me moving forward in the process. And in fact, there's one gentleman out there by the name of Ed who's leading a parallel life in another universe. Ed owned an MGB in college as well, although he had to sell his to pay for tuition. He recently bought another one. He's restoring that, and he's gonna leave it to his daughter just like I am. Ed, thank you for such a kind comment on one of the episodes. Now, in our last episode, Mechanic Steve continued the process to remove the interior out of Maggie. Specifically, he removed Maggie's dashboard. If you haven't seen that episode, click the link right up here so you can watch it. Now, in this episode, Mechanic Steve is really going to complete taking the interior out of Maggie. He's going to remove the windshield wiper system, the emergency brake, a number of other components. But I have to tell you, we are way behind schedule. This car is supposed to be in the body shop at the beginning of April. He hasn't even stripped the engine bay, he hasn't stripped the trunk, he hasn't taken all of the chrome and bright work. I gotta tell you, I'm just furious at Mechanic Steve, and I don't understand why it's taken so long for him to get through this part of the process. I mean, I think we're gonna lose our spot with the body shop. So I'm gonna turn this over to Mechanic Steve, and I expect some answers for him on why we're so behind schedule. Hey, thanks for a great handoff, Studio Steve. And of course I know we're behind schedule. We haven't even completed the first part of the internal strip, and this car is supposed to be at the body shop. Well, you know why that is? It's because not only am I the mechanic, I'm the whole production crew down here. You don't seem to understand. It's setting up the lights, the camera, making sure the shot is good, the sound is good. That takes a ton of time. You know, if you were doing your job right, you'd be burning up the phones in the studio, getting us a sponsor so we could actually hire a production crew. So until you do that, you're gonna get what you're gonna get from a schedule perspective. Really? You want to do this now in the middle of an episode? You are such a toolhead, Mechanic Steve. You know what? Nobody's going to want to subscribe, like, and share this video because of your attitude. And for the record, do you know how long it takes me to go through and edit all the film that you just drop off at my door so that we can post these videos? You better have an attitude adjustment now, or I'm going to be searching for a new mechanic. Okay, Studio Steve, I will calm down. And hey, everybody, I'm sorry that we aired our internal dirty laundry for you all to see. It's just that sometimes during a restoration, things don't always go as fast as you want them to go. During those times, you just gotta remain calm and keep focus on moving forward. So in this episode, it's probably our last one in removing the interior from Maggie. Specifically, what do we need to do? We need to remove the windshield wiper blades, the windshield screen itself, the windshield wiper motor, and a number of other components in the car, such as the emergency brake, the seat belts, and that internal trim ring around the back of the cockpit of the car. So this should make a great episode. Let's get started and let's dig in. So we're first going to start by removing Maggie's windshield wipers, and there's a Phillips head screw right here that needs to be removed. Once that's done, the wiper just comes off like that. So now let's remove the middle windshield wiper blade. And it really helps if you point the blade upright like that and then pull it off. And now let's remove the driver windshield wiper, the remaining one. There's a locking sort of mechanism underneath here that slides up, and that's going to come off when you remove the screw. Let me show you that. That's it right there. So with the windshield wipers removed, let's take a look at how this windshield is actually bolted into the car. Now, if we look just below the passenger side corner of the window, we're going to see two 9/16" bolts that actually attach the frame of the windshield, which is hidden behind here, to the body of the car. Now, on this forward bolt, you're going to see that you're going to be able to put a socket in there. But because of the way the car is shaped here for this top bolt, you're going to have to use a box wrench here to get at that. Here's a view on the driver's side, and you're going to see the same two bolts right here and right here located below the driver's side corner of the window. And they'll come out the exact same way as the ones on the passenger side. Now, the center of the windshield is actually attached to the top of the dashboard by this bracket and two 7/16" bolts. Now, because of the slope of the frame of the windshield, you're going to have to use a box wrench to remove those. And when you do, that whole bracket, this metal bar, plus the rear view mirror and the windshield are just going to come out in one piece. So let's start by removing the bracket on top of the dashboard. If we can get these started and then maybe undo them by hand, yes. And you can feel underneath here with your other hand where the end of these are, and you can actually spin them like that. And you pull them, angle them back, and that's how you're going to get them to actually clear the frame of the windshield. And there's the first one out, and notice that there's a lock washer and a washer here. And now let's get to the other one. Again, loosening it first with the wrench, and then we're going to spin it by hand once it gets easy. And there's the second one with the lock washer and the washer. And now let's remove the 9/16" bolts on the passenger side. Let's see, this one appears to be loose. We're going to spin it by hand. Notice the washer that's on there. And now we're going to use the box wrench for this one. See if we can get this started. Perhaps I can get that going enough to now stick the, there we go, the ratchet on it. And now that's done. And let's do the same on the driver's side. There's the forward-facing one with the lock washer and washer. And now let's remove the aft-facing one. Again, with the lock washer on that one. So now with the windshield unbolted, it's time to actually remove it from the car. Now we're going to first start by opening up the doors a bit to clear these side lights from the frame of the windshield. And now we're going to grab this, we're going to rotate it forward, and we're going to lift it right out of the car like this. Got to be very careful not to damage this in getting out of the car. So now with the windshield removed, we can now remove the windshield wiper system. So the system is comprised of the windshield wiper motor itself, an attached mechanism that takes the action of that motor and turns it into the circular motion of the windshield wipers themselves through the spindles that you can actually see right there. Now I'm going to attempt to remove this system in one piece, and what that is going to require is that I first free up the spindles from the top of the hood, remove these vents, detach the electrical connections on the motor itself, unbolt it, and slide the whole mechanism out from underneath the dashboard. So we're going to start the disassembly process by removing the spindle assemblies on the windshield wiper system. Now, it's never a good sign when you have a part or a system you're trying to take out of a car and you have like 2 or 3 things you got to take off it before you can get it out. And the very first thing you pick is frozen solid. Well, that's the case with these windshield wiper spindles. There's a small retaining nut that's threaded on the outside of the spindle that actually holds it in place. And these things, maybe because they're outside, I hear it's something to do with the relative selection of the materials between the two, but they are just frozen solid. Now, I tried with liquid wrench, let that penetrate over a number of days. That didn't work. I actually turned to Bobby the blowtorch to help me out. He was no good. That didn't work. And yes, fans, the fact that I have these safety glasses on means that I'm unfortunately going to have to turn to Danny the Dremel to cut those nuts off. Now, you got to be very careful because you cannot cut into the threaded section of the spindle. You just can only cut the nut here to get it off. Now, you know, my mom always wanted me to be a surgeon when I grew up, and I don't know. Let's see if her assessment of my talent was actually true. So let's give this a whirl. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is cut down like this, try to create a wedge in here, and then jam a screwdriver in and peel it back. Obviously, I'm going to have to replace these, which is sad, but I got to get these off. Now let's take a screwdriver, see if I can get in here and wedge this like this. There we go. I think that's gonna do it. This way. There we go. So that's off. Now this can be removed. So actually that worked really well. You know what, in thinking about this, I don't know if I want to use these, given that they were so frozen. I don't know, jury's out on that, but that's how these came out. Okay, so let's take a look and see how we did. So this is the driver's side. I actually cut several cuts down with the wheel this way, coming down onto it, and I think I damaged those threads. I think by the time I got to this one, I figured out you should make a straight cut in like this and then peel the nut back. And so this one looks like it's okay. And conversely, with the driver's side one, I think that one was salvaged as well. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad, but I don't know if you want me to be your doctor. So here's a look up from the floorboard into the dash, looking at the passenger side vent. And they are held in by 2 5/16 inch nuts and bolts. And we're going to remove those with a deep socket 1/8 inch drive. And that's one side out. Now it looks like these are going to drop down once we get these out, so I'm going to support this with my hand. Now we can just drop this down and take it out. And we'll do the same on the other side of the car. So with the vents now unbolted from underneath, we can simply lift up on the top part of the vent and remove it from the dashboard. So now with the 3 retaining nuts off of the wiper spindles and the 2 vents removed, it's now time to remove the windshield wiper assembly, which is the motor and all of these spindles. Let me get you a closer look at how that windshield wiper motor is mounted and how we're going to take it out. So if we look at the windshield wiper motor, it's actually mounted by this clamp that is actually bolted by these 2 7/16 inch bolts. Now there is a wire connection plug-in on top of the wiper motor that we're going to have to undo once we loosen this up. So the plan is to remove this strap, allow the windshield wiper motor to come down and backwards. That'll allow us to pull these spindles through the top part of the car. And once we move this away sufficiently enough from the body, we'll undo the electrical connection. So that's our approach. Let's get to work. Okay, so let's start by loosening these up. Now there's a rubber grommet or insulating pad between the clamp and the motor itself, probably to dampen the vibration of it. I think that one is out. Now we're gonna sort of pull this . Now I think we should be able to rotate this back. I'm not sure if you can see this, but that's the electrical connector right there. We're gonna pull that out. Actually, we're gonna take this, fully remove the, there's like a mounting block behind it. I'll show you once we get this out. We're going to fully take this off from that. And now I think we should be able to just rotate this back. And there's the windshield wiper motor right here with the spindle assemblies all taken out of the car. And here is the clamp that it was on, bolted in like that into the dash. And so now the windshield wiper motor and system is successfully out of the car. So we're going to deliver Maggie to the body shop as a rolling chassis, and we are going to leave the steering wheel in. However, we are going to remove the windshield wiper and overdrive switch, as well as the directional switch and light horn switch. So these are actually wired, you'll see, separately into the wire harness. We can actually disconnect each of the plugs on that, and I'll show you when we get there. So how are these held in? Well, the windshield wiper switch right here is held in by a Phillips head screw up here and down here. And once we remove those and take the wiper switch off, you're going to see a separate set of screws that come from this direction that hold on the directionals and the light switch. So let's start taking this apart. We'll go with the top one first. And you'll see that's coming right off like that. We'll grab this screw. And now, I don't know if you can see this from the camera angle perspective, but there's a set of two other screws on the other side of this bar. And that one's removed there. So now let's go underneath and let me show you how to disconnect these from the wire harness perspective. So here's a view looking up towards the steering column. These are, of course, the two switches, and they have two main leads on them like this, and it looks like there's some tape up here that actually holds those in. I'm just gonna come in here and cut that to free them up. You can see now they're hanging down like this. And this I find pretty interesting. Anytime you see a wire harness with these jumper cables on it, that means somebody was in here messing around, which is one of the reasons why I'm replacing the wire harness in the car. So you'll see that there are two main plugs, right? One for each of the switches, and we're just gonna, I believe, be able to undo these. Like so. There's one. And we can just undo that. And here's the wiper. That was the wiper one. And the other one was the directionals. And so that's how we are going to disconnect these. Now, for some reason, there are a couple of jumper wires on this, which I guess I'm going to have to just cut these and find out where they go to. Looks like for some reason they're going to this switch that was mounted on the console. I must have put this switch in. I remember I did. I don't remember what it goes to. Looks like there were some connections here. We're going to cut these right here and just take that switch and put it in the bag with it. We'll refer obviously back to it. There we go. So these switches are now out of the car. So the last switch on the steering column that we're going to remove is the ignition switch. And then that is located right here. You can see there's a top half and a bottom half that are bolted together. Now you're probably saying, where are the two bolt heads, Mechanic Steve? Well, when these were installed at the factory, they used what are known as shear bolts. And those bolts, when they go in and they're tightened to a specific torque, the heads actually shear off. And the reason why they did that was for security purposes, so that nobody can come in and unbolt this very easily. Now, to remove that is a little bit of a problem. What you have to do is actually Dremel in a cross line here on each of these so that you can stick a screwdriver in there to turn them. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Okay, and so we've got Danny the Dremel back by popular demand. We're going to use him to just put a nice notch in each of these. And we don't want to go too deep and hit the top of the bracket, but we want to make sure we get enough depth on this. All right, that's perhaps in the center a little bit more. Let's see if we can unscrew this one. Oh, there we go. So that one's coming out. And that's what they look like. The ease with which these comes out is directly tied to how well you cut that slot. And I did a good job on the second one, but I don't think I did on this first one. Maybe that's a bit deeper. Let's try this again. Oh, we got it. We got it. Now let's take this out. And so that one is now out. And this should just come right apart, the top and the bottom. Now let's go down and I'll show you how to disconnect the wires. Okay, so from a wiring perspective, if we follow this up, looks like a bunch of bullet connectors. We'll just start to undo them. This is a red-white to a red-white. This is a white-green to a white-green. This looks like a purple-red, I think. So maybe a pink. That comes undone. This is a brown to a brown. And then it looks like the remaining one is a white into a double white. And there we go. The ignition switch is now removed from Maggie. And it looks like somebody tried to stick a screwdriver in here to start this car. Maybe Maggie was admired from afar and somebody tried to steal her. I didn't have any issues with the ignition from what I remember when I drove it, but looks like somebody was trying to steal Maggie. And so as we did before, when we removed the dashboard, we're going to use our Dymo label maker to actually make labels and mark where all these wires originate from. So you see there's the wiper, the ignition, and the turn signal. So now to remove the seat belts, there's actually three 11/16" bolts that hold the system in. There's one right here on the base of the catch mechanism, and then for the combined shoulder/lap belt, there's one that anchors it down here and one back here for the tensioning mechanism. So let's now remove those. So let's start with the catch portion of the seat belt, and that's again an 11/16 that we're going to undo right here. And now that's done. And let's not forget to disconnect the wires on the catch mechanism. So this is a black wire right here. Looks like it's going into a double bullet connector. You can pull that out, and this is a black-white wire which is connected to a, looks like a red or an orange-green, again through a bullet connector. And now let's move on to the belted portion. This is the lower anchor part down here on the body of that belt. Again, an 11/16. And that's completed. And now using an extension, we're going to undo the tensioner bolt on the other end of the lap shoulder belt. And that is now undone. And so with that, the passenger side seatbelt has been removed. We're going to go do the same on the driver's side. So now it's time to remove the parking brake mechanism from the interior of the car. Now, before we do that, we've got to go down below underneath the car and detach the cable from this mechanism. So let's go down under there and show you how that's done. So I removed the parking brake cable from the parking brake mechanism. The way this was set up is that this threaded rod actually goes through this connection right here, which is the mechanism for the brake up above. So you have to simply hold this with a wrench, a box wrench, and then spin this off. And once that's done, you can push the threaded part of this rod back through a clevis in here, and it will come disengaged like that. So with that cable now detached, we need to remove these 3 screws. Now they were kind of rusted on. I actually used an impact driver off camera to loosen these up. And let's just take these out. I believe this should, I thought this would just pull out. Looks like there's something underneath that's holding it on. No, maybe not. It's the lever. There we go. So now that's out. And that's the clevis right there that we took the cable off of underneath there. So now the parking brake is removed from the car. So the remaining piece that needs to come out in this episode is this ring around the rear part of the cockpit. Now there are 7 bolts and nuts that actually hold this in, and 2 attachments, one here and one on the side, that need to be undone to take this out. Let me get you up close to show you what that looks like. So there are 2 attachments, one right here at the end of that ring, and then if you follow it all the way around, another one on the other side. And once these are taken out, we'll be able to move this ring forward and out of the car. But what actually holds it on are about 7 bolts that are underneath that run perpendicular. Let me see if I can show you some of those underneath there. So there's one right there. There's another one right there. And another one right there. And they go really around the ring of the car. So we're going to remove all of those. And then those 2 end attachments, and this thing should just slide right out. So let's take a look. So you can see that that is actually undone, and then I've removed all of the screws, the bolts onto the screws, and placed them in the approximate location around the car from with which they came. And again, that side is undone. Okay, now because these screws right here are kind of parallel, like are perpendicular, but going this way, we can't slide this out yet. We have to pull these in to free those screws up, and then this whole thing just comes out like that. And now that internal trim ring is removed from the car. So let's take a look close up what those screws look like inside of this frame, just so that when you are attempting to take this off, you can have this image in your head as to what it looks like. You can see they run perpendicular to that surface, and then they actually bolt up in these holes right here inside the car. Hallelujah. I got what I got. I don't care. Let's just get the fuck out of here. I got my content. So that's a wrap for this episode of Maggie's Makeover. You know, Maggie and I sincerely hope that you found this episode both helpful and entertaining to watch. Now, as far as the restoration schedule is concerned, I guess I'm gonna have to call the body shop and see if we can push out the date for when the car has to be delivered. Now, as far as mechanic Steve is concerned, the jury is still out on that guy. What scares me even more is the nice weather's here, and when that happens, that guy's never in the garage. He's always out on a golf cart trying to perfect that crappy swing of his.
From the Augusta National Golf Club in Augusta, Georgia, CBS Sports proudly presents the Masters.
Let's head down to the 18th hole, where a tournament rookie by the name of Mechanic Steve is about to make Masters history if he can just hold this 8-iron. Improbable at best, but the Masters has a great history of finishes, where the impossible becomes possible.
It's about 185 yards, perfect for an 8-iron. This is a Cinderella story. A first-time tour player, ex-MGB mechanic, is about to make Masters history and win at Augusta when he holds this 8-iron. Oh, he got all of that. It's tracking towards the hole. It's turning in. It's on the green. It's rolling. It's rolling towards the hole. It's in the hole. It's in the hole.
What a round, 64. It matches the lowest final round score in Masters history.
So, in closing, if you haven't subscribed, consider clicking on this link. If you haven't seen the episode of the dashboard removal, click on this link. Either way, thanks for joining us and happy motoring.